Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. Sit down, please. I'd like to speak English today too, to improve my speaking skill. Let's get it started. Today, it is August 8th, 2022. It's on Tuesday, and it's sunny outside. The newly discovered evidence will back up the hypothesis. The newly discovered evidence will support the hypothesis. The picture of the black hole will back up the theory. The picture of the black hole will back up the theory. There was no one to back up me at that time, so I was obliged to solve everything by myself. There was no one to support me at that time, so I was forced to solve everything by myself. The newly discovered evidence backed up the theory. The newly discovered evidence will back up the theory. The newly discovered evidence will back up the theory. The testimony from the witnesses backed up the accident. Some testimonies from witnesses backed up his guilty. Some testimonies from the witnesses backed up his crime. The newly discovered evidence in his room backed up his crime. The newly discovered evidence backed up his crime. The newly discovered evidence from his room backed up his crime. There are many data which back up how exercise is important to us. There are data how moderate exercise is important to us. There are data to back up how moderate exercise will benefit us. There are some data which moderate exercise benefit us. The newly discovered evidence will back up the theory. Back up the theory. The newly discovered evidence will back up the theory. The newly discovered evidence will back up the theory. Hypothesis. Will back up the hypothesis. The eruption of the Nishinoshima Island near Ogasawara Islands in Tokyo will back up how the land was created. The recent volcanic eruption turning into an island called Nishinoshima Island will support how the land was created in the past. The creation of Nishinoshima Island near Ogasawa Islands in Tokyo will back up how the land was created. The creation of the Nishinoshima Island by eruption will back up how the land was created. The creation of Nishinoshima Island will back up how the land was created. The creation of Nishinoshima Island will back up how the land was created. How the land was created. Some testimonies from the witnesses backed up his wrongdoing. Some testimonies from the employees backed up his crimes. There are some data backing up how moderate exercise is important to us. There are some data backing up how moderate exercise will benefit us. The newly discovered evidence backed up the hypothesis. The newly discovered evidence backed up the hypothesis. Coffee helps me to be concentrated. Coffee helps me. Coffee helps me to be concentrated. Coffee helps me be concentrated. Coffee helps me to be concentrated. Coffee helps me to be focused. Coffee helps me be concentrated. Coffee helps me to be concentrated. Coffee helps me to be concentrated. Coffee helps me be concentrated. My parents and relatives helped me to solve some problems. My family and relatives helped me solve some problems. My family and relatives helped me to solve some problems. My family and relatives helped me solve some problems. Some bureaucrats are good at dealing with problem-solving tasks. Are you good at dealing with problem-solving tasks? My grandmother is constantly on the move. My grandmother is constantly on the move. She cannot be still. My grandmother is constantly on the move. 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 She cannot be still. The earth is constantly on the move. The earth shines constantly. The sun shines constantly every day, no matter what happens, no matter whenever. No matter when we go out, the sun shines no matter when we go out. Do you have a treadmill at your home? I wish I had a treadmill at home. I would exercise with it, especially during the rain. If I had a treadmill at home, I would use it during the typhoon, during the rain. Looking at outside and listening to music, which would be good. Do you have a treadmill? Do you like to run on the treadmill? Do you like running? Do you like running? Do you like running on the treadmill? Treadmill. Do you like running? Do you like running? Do you like running on the treadmill? Do you like to run on the treadmill? Do you like to run? Do you like to run on the treadmill? Treadmill. Do you like to run on the treadmill? Do you like running on the treadmill? Do you like to run on the treadmill? Do you like to run on the treadmill? Do you like to run on the treadmill? Do you like running? Do you like running? Do you like running? Do you like running on the treadmill? Treadmill. Do you like running on the treadmill? Do you like to run 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 on the treadmill? Do you like running? Do you like running on the treadmill? Do you like running on the treadmill? Treadmill. Do you like running? Do you like running on the treadmill at the gym? Do you like running on the treadmill at the gym? Do you like running on the treadmill? Do you like running on the treadmill at the gym? Do you like running? Do you like running on the treadmill at the gym? Which do you prefer, running outside or running on the treadmill? Which do you prefer, running outside or treadmill? Which do you prefer, running outside or running on the treadmill? Treadmill. Treadmill. Which do you prefer, running outside or running on the treadmill? Running on the treadmill. Which do you prefer, running outside or running on the treadmill? Treadmill. 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 When high tide, the water comes right under the pavilion. When low tide, you can walk on the ground. You can walk the ground. When it's high tide, the water comes right under the pavilion. The water comes right under the pavilion. But when it is low tide, you can walk the ground. I was made to remember multiplication until I could recite them until the 9th figures. I was forced to memorize multiplication table until I could recite them. I was forced to memorize the multiplication table until I could recite them. There are some songs that I can recite. There are some songs which I can recite the lyrics. There are some songs in which I can recite. There are some songs that I can recite the lyrics of. There are some songs of which I can recite the lyrics. There are some songs which I can recite the lyrics of. There are some songs of which I can recite the lyrics. There are some songs which I can recite the lyrics of. Recite. Can you recite something? Can you recite the lyrics of the song? Can you recite the lyrics of the song? Can you recite a book? I used to be able to recite the story of the book, but not now. I used to be able to recite the content of the book when I was a first grade elementary school student. When I was a first year elementary school student, I could recite the story of the book, but not now. I was made to memorize the multiplication table, multiplication tables, until I could recite them. When I was a second grade student at elementary school student, I was forced to memorize multiplication tables until I could recite them. When I was a second grade student at the elementary school, I was made to memorize multiplication tables. When I was a second grade student at the second grade student at elementary school student, I was forced to memorize multiplication tables until I could recite them. Until I could recite them. When I was a second grade student at elementary school, I was made to memorize the multiplication tables. Multiplication tables. Do you still remember the multiplication tables? Of course, multiplication tables. When I was a second grade student at the elementary school, I was forced to memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. When I was a second grade student at the elementary school, I was made to memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. When I was a second grade student at elementary school, I was made to memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. Multiplication tables. 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 Multiplication. 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 Multiplication tables. It took longer than average people to memorize the multiplication tables. It took more than average to memorize the multiplication tables. Multiplication tables. Multiplication tables. It took more than it took much longer than average to memorize the multiplication tables. It took longer than average to memorize the multiplication tables. It took longer than average to memorize the multiplication tables. Because I'm idiot. Stupid. It took longer than average for me to memorize the multiplication tables. Multiplication tables. Multiplication tables. I was made to memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. When I was a second grade student at the elementary school, I was made to memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. I was made to memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. My common teacher made me memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. My common teacher made us memorize the multiplication tables until I could recite them. We had to recite the multiplication tables in front of the common teacher. Our common teacher made us memorize the multiplication tables until we could recite them. There are some songs which I can recite the lyrics of. There are some songs that which I can recite the lyrics of. It took longer than average for me to memorize the multiplication tables. Multiplication tables. Multiplication. 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 Multiplication tables. It took longer than average for me to memorize the multiplication tables. It took longer than average for me to memorize the multiplication tables. Thanks to the advertisement on social networking service, the sales figures of the product became by a factor of 3. Due to the pandemic, the festival was held on a smaller scale. Payment is usually paid on a monthly basis. Payment is usually paid on a monthly basis in Japan. I take the medicine at 2 week intervals. I take the medicine at 2-week intervals. I go to take the lesson at 2-week intervals. Thanks to the advertisement on the TV commercial, the sales figures of the company became by a factor of 3. Thanks to the advertisement on the social networking service, the sales figures of the product increased by a factor of 2. By a factor of 2. by a factor of 3, by a factor of 4, by a factor of 5, by a factor of 6, by a factor of 7, by a factor of 8, by a factor of 9, by a factor of 10. Oh my god, 10. I hope the stock price, which I have, will increase by a factor of 1 million. It's insane. $1 million increase of stock prices will be insane. Would be insane. It's insane. 1 million increase of stock prices is insane. And within one night, the stock price increased by a factor of 1.5. Before I know, the price of the crypto coin surged by a factor of 3. Before I knew, the price of the crypto coin had surged by a factor of 3. Before I knew, the price of the crypto coin surged by a factor of 3. Before I knew, the price of the crypto coin had surged by a factor of 5. The sales figures of the company surged by a factor of 2. By a factor of 3, by a factor of 11, by a factor of 12, by a factor of 13, by a factor of 14, by a factor of 15. The number of tourists into the museum surged by a factor of 2, thanks to the advertisement campaign. The number of foreign tourists into Japan surged by a factor of 4. I hope my salary will surge by a factor of 50. I hope my salary will increase by a factor of 100. I hope my salary will surge by a factor of 1000. I hope my monthly salary will increase by a factor of 10,000. I hope everyone's salary will surge by a factor of 1 million. I hope everyone's salary will increase by a factor of 100. I hope everyone's salary will increase by a factor of 1 million. I hope my salary will increase by a factor of 1 million. The world population increased by a factor of 2. The number of employees of the company increased by a factor of 3. By a factor of 3. Regular exercise is very good. Regular exercise will benefit us in many perspectives. In some perspectives. Don't get in my way. Don't get in the way of me. The blockage, the obstacles on the road were in the way of the drivers. The blockages, the obstacles on the road were in the way of the drivers. In the way of the drivers. The obstacles on the road were in the driver's way. Regular exercise will benefit us. Regular moderate exercise will benefit us. I didn't dare to accept the job offer because to pursue my career, to pursue what I do, to pursue what I wanna do. I didn't dare to accept the job offer in order to do what I love. I was assigned to Research and Development Department. I was assigned to the Research and Development team. Research and Development Department. I was assigned to the Research and Development Department. I did deal with a pile of tasks by myself. I did deal with a pile of tasks by myself. I did deal with a heap of tasks by myself. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. I did deal with a pile of tasks by myself. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. I did deal with a heap of tasks myself on my own. The company offered me the position, but I declined. The company offered the position to me, but I declined. The company offered me the position, but I declined. The company offered the position to me. Before I know, the price of the crypto coin quadrupled. Before I know, the price of the crypto coin quadrupled. Before I know, the price of the crypto coin doubled. The gas price almost doubled. The gas price almost doubled compared to 2 years ago. The gas price almost doubled. 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 The gas price nearly doubled. The gas price almost doubled. The gas price nearly doubled. The gas price nearly doubled. The gas price almost doubled. The gas price nearly doubled. I hope my salary will double. I hope everyone's salary will double. I hope everyone's salary double. I hope everybody's salary will double. It is said that moderate exercise will enhance immunization. immunization, immunization, immunization. Daily effort will enhance our level of skill gradually. Moderate exercise will enhance our immunization system. Immunization. Regular exercise, moderate exercise will enhance our immunization. Moderate exercise will enhance our immunization. Immunization, immunization. Coffee helps me to enhance my motivation. Coffee helps me to have better concentration. Coffee helps me to enhance my concentration. Coffee helps me to enhance my motivation, concentration, focus. Coffee helps me enhance my motivation. I sometimes listen to classical music to enhance my concentration. Enhancement of motivation is not an easy task. Enhancement of motivation is not an easy task, especially if you do the same thing every day. Enhancement of our level of skill depends on how we can improve that daily. Enhancement of our level is to notice our failure, mistakes, and improve them one by one. Changing the formation or improving the weak point is the enhancement of our level. The teacher contributed to the enhancement of the academic accomplishment in the class of the students. The teacher contributed to the enhancement of the academic accomplishments by the students. The newly appointed teacher contributed to the enhancement of the students' level of speaking English. The newly appointed teacher contributed a lot to the enhancement of student speaking skill in English. The newly allotted teacher contributed to the enhancement of students' English skill. The newly allotted teacher contributed to the enhancement of the students' speaking skill in English. The incentive will contribute to the enhancement of the employee's motivation. The bonus contributed to the enhancement of the employee's motivation. The TV commercial of the tourist spot contributed to the enhancement of the tourists. The Zen or Zen meditation will contribute to the enhancement of our concentration. Zen meditation will contribute to the enhancement of our concentration. I drink a cup of coffee every morning as the enhancement of my motivation. I drink a cup of coffee as the enhancement of my motivation, concentration. Coffee works as the enhancement of my motivation, concentration, focus. Coffee works as the enhancement of my motivation. Coffee works as motivation. Coffee works as an enhancement of motivation. My concentration. Coffee works as the enhancement of my concentration. Coffee works as the enhancement of my motivation. So I drink a cup of coffee as a way of the enhancement of my motivation. The enhancement of the quality of life is important. Everyone, or not, or many people would like the enhancement of the quality of life. The coach contributed to the enhancement of the team's level. The newly allocated teacher, coach, contributed to the enhancement of the team's level. The newly allocated coach contributed to the enhancement of the team's level. The newly appointed teacher, coach, contributed to the team's level up. The enhancement of the team's level. The newly assigned coach contributed to the enhancement of the team's skill, team's level. The newly appointed teacher, coach, the newly appointed coach contributed to the enhancement of the team's skill level. The newly appointed coach contributed to the enhancement of the team's level. We should get a sound operation. We should get a sound treatment from a doctor. We should get sound treatment from doctors. We should get sound treatment from doctors. I used to pursue higher quality sound by buying audio visual goods, but not now. My interest has changed. We should have sound sleep the day before the examination or performance. We should have a sound sleep the day before our performance. Do you think my idea is sound? Do you think my idea or decision or option is sound? Not many people regard my idea sound. Not many people regard my idea sound. Or no one regard my idea sound. No one regard my idea sound. No one consider my idea sound. No one consider my idea sound. No one regard my idea sound. No one consider my idea sound. My ideas often regarded as not sound. My ideas often regarded as crazy. My ideas often regarded as crazy. My ideas often considered crazy. My ideas often considered as crazy. Although I got the sound medication treatment from a doctor, I still feel sick. Although I got a sound treatment from the doctor, I still have problem on my skin. It's wrong. It's not cured perfectly yet. Not yet, not yet. Not yet, not yet. We should try to have sound food, sound cuisine. We should try to have sound cuisine. We should try to have sound cuisine lifestyle. We should try to have healthy sound lifestyle. We should try to have sound lifestyle. We should try to have sound lifestyle for our health, for our body. Approaching the beaches during the typhoon is not sound. Approaching the beaches or rivers during the typhoon is not sound. It's senseless. After making sure my daughter had been sound asleep, I went out of the room. After making sure that my baby had been sound asleep, I went out of the room. I saw a man with gentleman's suit sleeping on the walkway sound. I saw a man sleeping sound on the walkway in the early morning. After getting off the night bus at Shinjuku Station, I saw a man with a suit sleeping sound on the walkway. Maybe he is drunk. Maybe he was drunk and fell asleep on the walkway. I guess he was drunk and fell asleep on the road. I saw a man sleeping sound on the walkway after getting off the night bus in Shinjuku. I saw a man sleeping sound on the walkway in Shibuya. I saw a drunk man sleeping sound on the walkway. I saw a drunk man sleeping sound on the walkway. I saw a man sleeping sound on the walkway. Although the thief was walking next to the owner of the house, a sleeping sound. Although the thief was walking next to the owner of the house, he did not notice it because he was sound asleep, and the thief was walking like ninja without any sound. Although the thief was walking passed by the owner of the house, he did not notice him because he was sound asleep. Although the thief passed by the owner of the house, he did not notice because he was sound asleep. The mission was conducted soundly. The mission was conducted soundly. The mission was conducted soundly. The ritual was held soundly. The ritual was conducted soundly. The ritual was done, conducted soundly, soundly, soundly. The baby was sleeping soundly. The mission has to be conducted soundly. The mission has to be done soundly. The project must be proceeded soundly. The project must be proceeded soundly. The duty was done soundly by the employee. The patient was treated soundly by the doctor, by the surgeon. The operation was conducted soundly by the surgeon. The operation was conducted by the surgeon soundly. The operation was performed by the surgeon soundly. The operation was performed soundly by the doctor. The compliance should be abided by soundly. We have to abide by the compliance law constitution. Every law must abide by the constitution. Everything comes under the constitution. We have to abide by comfort. The constitution soundly. We have to abide by comfort. Adhere to. Stick to constitution soundly. I will stick to my policy, no matter who criticizes me. I will stick with my policy. I will stick to my policy. I will stand up for my policy, no matter who criticizes me. This is originality. This is ingenuity. This is originality. The draft was created soundly. We have to abide by the Constitution soundly. We have to abide by the Constitution compliance soundly. I followed what I was said from the doctor soundly. I followed what I was told by the doctor soundly. I followed what I was told by the doctor soundly. I followed what I was told by the doctor soundly. I followed what I was told by the doctor soundly. We need wisdom to survive. We need wisdom to survive the society. We need wisdom to survive the hardship. We need wisdom to get through difficulties. Could you give me some advice? Could you give me wiser advice than what I thought? Do you have wiser idea than my idea? Do you know if you have a wiser way or method? Could you tell me? If you know a wiser way, could you tell me? If you have a wiser way than my idea, could you tell me? I made a mistake. Today, it was August 2nd, 2022. Sorry, it was my mistake. Today, it is August 2nd, 2022. Do you think my decision was wise? To become successful beyond the description, drastically, thoroughly, we need to deviate from the common sense. To succeed drastically, thoroughly, and in order to make breakthroughs, we have to deviate. Not necessarily, but maybe we have to mostly deviate from common sense. Having a couple of jobs would be wise in this generation because it is not perfect insurance that we can work for a company forever. So having a couple of jobs is wise now because there is no insurance that we can work for a company forever. Actually, I'm full now. Actually, I'm no longer a pianist. Actually, I can no longer play the piece. The actual headquarters of the company is different, located differently. The actual headquarters, actual address of the company is located differently. People tend to avoid telling their true opinions in public in order to keep the atmosphere better, and they tend to tell their actual opinions behind his or her back. People tend to avoid telling the true opinions in public, and they tend to tell the actual opinions or feelings behind his or her back. The security men are always alert. The security men always on alert. The super protectors are always alert, on the alert for immediate sudden attacks from others. The super protectors is always alert. The super protectors are on the alert for sudden attacks from others. The security guards are alert at the entrance. The security guards are alert. The security guards are alert at the entrance. 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 I think many people, including me, are less alert after lunchtime because our energy will be used for digesting what we eat. So we tend to less concentrated, less focused. So it's better to eat up to 70 or 80% in order to avoid our energy being used so much for the digestion. I, as well as you, am less alert after lunch. I, as well as you, am less alert after lunch. I feel less alert after lunch. I feel less alert after lunch. The security guards are always alert at the entrance. The security guards are always alert at the entrance. The security guards are always alert at the entrance. The security guards are 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 always alert at the entrance. The examiners are alert during the examination. The examiners are kept alerting during the examination in order to avoid cheating. The examiners are alert. The examiners were alert during the examination. 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 I got alert after the earthquake. Everyone got alert after the earthquake. Everyone was alert. Everyone was alert after the earthquake in preparation for tsunami. I as well as you am less alert after eating lunch. I as well as you am less alert after lunch. I as well as you am less alert after lunch. I saw many police officers on the alert. I saw many police officers on the alert at 2 meters intervals on the walkway. I saw many police officers lined up on the walkway at 2 meters intervals on the alert. I saw many police officers on the alert at 2 meters intervals on the walkway to welcome the foreign dignitaries from a foreign country. Police officers should be with alert every time, all the way. Police officers should be with alert all the time, in case of emergency. Police officers are on the alert. Police officers on the alert. Police officers on the alert in case of emergency. We were on the alert for aftershock. We were on the alert for aftershock. The police officers were on the alert at the entrance of the shop. The guardian dog was on the alert at the entrance of the house. The guardian dog was on the alert at the entrance of the house. The guardian dog was on the alert. The guardian dog was on the alert at the entrance. The earthquake alerted me. The earthquake alerted me. The bad score on TOEIC test alerted me. The sudden earthquake alerted me. The sudden earthquake alerted me. The sudden earthquake alerted me. The sudden shake of the earth alerted me. The sudden shake of the house alerted me. The approaching typhoon alerted us. The approaching typhoon alerted us. The sudden shake of the house alerted me. The sudden sound of the gun, the sudden big sound of something alerted us. The sudden explosion of something alerted us. The sudden explosion of something alerted us. The sudden explosion of something alerted us. The explosion alerted us. The explosion of something 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 alerted us. The sound of the gun. The sound of the shooting gun. The sound of the gun shooting alerted us. The sound of the gun shooting alerted us. The earthquake alerted us. The earthquake alerted us. The tsunami warning alerted us. The tsunami warning alerted us. The news anchor alerted that warned that a tsunami might arrive anytime soon. The news anchor warned that the earthquake might happen anytime soon. The tsunami warning alerted us. The tsunami warning alerted us. The tsunami warning alerted us. The guardian dog was on the alert at the entrance. Police officers on the alert for emergency. Police officers always on the alert of emergency. Police officers are on the alert for emergency. Police officers are on the alert of 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 emergency. Police officers on the alert for emergency. We were on the alert for aftershock. We were on the alert of aftershock. We were on the alert for aftershock. We were on the alert for aftershock. The boxer was on the alert for the opponent's right straight. The boxer was on the alert for the opponent's left straight. The boxer was on the alert for right straight. The boxer was on the alert for right straight. The boxer was on the alert for right straight, so he couldn't enter his territory. The boxer was on the alert for right straight, the opponent's right straight. The boxer was on the alert for the opponent's right straight, on the alert for right straight. The boxer was on the alert for the right straight. The boxer was on the alert for the right straight. Everyone was on the alert for his wrongdoing after drinking too much of alcohol. Everyone was on the alert for his wrongdoing after getting drunk. Everybody was on the alert of his wrongdoing after getting drunk. Everybody was on the alert for his wrongdoing after getting drunk. Everybody was on the alert for his wrongdoing after getting drunk. Everybody on the alert for his wrongdoing after getting drunk. After his getting drunk. The guardian dogs are on the alert at the entrance. The security man on the alert The security men are on the alert at the entrance of the shop. The security men are on the alert at the entrance of the bank. The security men are on the alert. The security men are on the alert. The security men on the alert. The security men are 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 on the alert at the entrance of the bank. The security men are on the alert. 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 The security men are on the alert for emergency. The police officers are on the alert for emergency. The police officers are on the alert for emergency. The police officers are on the alert for emergency. The police officers are on the alert for emergency. With more alertness, this accident would not have happened. With more alertness, this accident would not have happened. Once you get used to it, the alertness might decrease. So, keeping the same amount of alertness might be difficult. Once you get used to it, the alertness of it will decrease. So keeping the same volume of alertness is difficult. Once you get used to it, the alertness will decrease, diminish, decline. But we have to keep the alertness all the time. Once we get used to something, the alertness of it will decrease. The alertness for it will decrease. Once we are used to it, the alertness for it will decrease. Once we get used to something, the alertness for that something will decrease, diminish, decline, go down. Can you keep the same amount of alertness after you get used to something? Can you keep the same amount of alertness after you get used to something? It's difficult to keep the same amount of alertness after getting used to it, after getting used to something. Keeping the same amount of alertness is difficult after getting used to something, after getting used to it, after getting used to something. That's why minor mistakes will happen. After eating lunch, my alertness for the lecture decreases. After eating lunch, my alertness for the lecture decreases because my energy is used for the digestion. This minor accent will not happen with alertness. This kind of minor mistake will not happen with alertness. Some employees perform their duties with alertness all the time, soundly. Some employees perform their duties with alertness. The production should be done with alertness. The production should be done with alertness. The production should be done with alertness. The products should be produced with alertness in order to avoid making a mistake. The production should be done with alertness in order to avoid making a mistake. Decreases. After eating lunch, my alertness decreases. After eating lunch, my alertness decreases. After eating lunch, my alertness diminishes. I'd like to focus myself on the class after eating lunch. I'd like to focus myself on the lecture, so I try not to eat much lunch, because if I eat a lot of lunch, which will affect my performance of the rest of the day, If I eat a lot of lunch, which will affect my performance in the rest of the day. Let's focus our topics on sightseeing spots. Let's focus our topics on sightseeing spots, tourist spots. Let's focus our meeting on tourist spots. Today, we will focus our topic on global warming. Today we will focus our topics on global warming. Do you know how to focus ourselves on studying better? Do you know how to focus our students on the class activity better? Do you know how to make children focused on the lecture better, effectively? Do you know how to focus the children on the lecture? Do you know how to focus children on the studying? I'd like to focus myself on the studying, even after lunch, so I try not to eat much of lunch. If I eat a lot of lunch, I will feel sleepy after lunch. So I try not to eat a lot of lunch. I try to eat lunch up to 80% at the most. 80% at the most. You should focus yourself on what you have to do. So which means you have to reduce the hours of playing video games. You have to reduce the hours of playing video games. You should avoid playing video games anymore. You should focus yourself on what you have to do, which means you have to reduce the hours of playing video games. I'd like to concentrate myself on the studying better. Coffee helps me concentrate on the study. Coffee helps me to concentrate on the study. Coffee helps me to focus on the study. The meeting should focus topics on global warming. The meeting should focus the agenda on preventing the infection. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should concentrate ourselves on what we have to do. We should concentrate ourselves on what we have to do. We should concentrate ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. We should focus ourselves on what we have to do. I'd like to focus myself on everything. I'd like to focus myself on the lecture after lunch, so I try not to eat much lunch. His remarks are often out of focus. The camera lens is in place, in focus. The camera lens has not been in focus this morning. The camera lens is in focus. The camera lens was in focus, so there was something wrong with other parts. The camera lens was in focus, so there was something wrong with other parts of the camera. The camera lens is in focus. The camera wasn't in focus during the shooting. The camera lens was not in focus during the video recording. The camera lens was not in focus during the video recording. The camera lens was not in focus during the video recording, unfortunately. Unfortunately, the camera lens was not in focus during the video recording. Unfortunately, the camera lens was not in focus during the video recording. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus during the video recording. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus during the video recording. In focus. His remarks are often out of focus. Out of focus. His remarks are often out of focus. The policy made by the politician is out of focus. Out of focus. Out of focus. Out of focus of the citizens. Out of focus of the citizens. The policy made by the politician is out of the focus of the citizens. My ideas are often not in focus. In focus. In focus. In focus. In focus. The camera lens was not in focus since from scratch. The camera lens was not in focus during the video recording. The camera lens was not in focus during the video recording. Finally, the camera lens was in focus. Finally, the camera lens has been in focus. Now that the camera lens has been in focus, we can start the project. We can start the video recording. Now that the camera lens has been in focus, we can start the project now. We can start the movie now. We can start the video recording now. Now that the camera lens has been in focus, we can start the film. Film make. We can start the film make. We can start filming the movie. We can start making the movie. We can start filming the movie. Filming the movie. Now that the camera lens has been in focus, we can start filming the movie. We can start to film the movie. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus during the video recording. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus during the video recording. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus during the filming the video. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus while shooting the video, while filming the video. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus while recording the video. The policy made by the politician is out of the focus of the citizens. Out of the focus of the citizens. Out of focus. Out of focus. Out of focus. The camera lens is out of focus. The lens is out of focus. The camera 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 lens is out of focus. In focus, in focus, in focus, out of focus, out of focus, out of focus. Out of focus, out of focus, out of focus, out of focus. Out of focus, out of focus. My ideas are often out of focus of many people. My ideas are often out of focus of the employees. My ideas are often out of focus of the employees. My ideas are often out of focus, out of place, out of focus of the employees. My ideas often out of focus of the employees. My ideas often out of focus. The camera lens is out of focus. The camera lens is out of focus. The camera lens is in focus. The camera lens is finally in focus. The camera lens is finally in focus. In focus. In focus. In focus. In focus. The camera lens is finally in focus. The camera lens is finally in focus. The camera lens is ultimately in focus. The camera lens is ultimately in focus. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus while shooting the video, while filming the video, while we were filming the video. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus while we were shooting the video, while we were filming the video. Unfortunately, the camera lens was out of focus while we were filming the video. I'd like to focus on my studying this Sunday. I'd like to focus on my studying this Sunday. I'd like to focus on my studying more time in a day. I'd like to focus on my studying more time in a day. I'd like to secure more time for my studying. You should focus more on studying. You should focus more your time on the studying. You should focus your time on studying. You should focus more of your time on studying. You should focus more of your time on studying. You should focus more of your time on studying. You should focus on your studying more. We should focus on what we have to do more, reducing the waste of time, reducing the wasting time. We should focus on what we have to do more. We should focus on what we have to do in the first place in a day. Whenever I perform on the stage, I have butterflies in my stomach. Whenever I perform in front of people, I get nervous. You performed well, so you believe yourself, but you should believe in yourself. You should trust yourself. You should trust yourself. You should pay respect to yourself. Whenever I perform in public, I get nervous. Whenever I perform in public, I tremble. I shake. I tremble with fear, nervousness. I tremble with fear and nervousness. I did perform my duty all alone. I did perform a pile of tasks by myself on my own last night after everyone went home. Have you ever wrote Frankenstein at the theater? Have you ever wrote Frankenstein or Pierrot at the theater? Have you ever taken the role of Frankenstein or Pierrot at the theater? You performed well, so you pay respect to yourself. You should pay respect to yourself. I performed my duty. I performed my duty. I performed my duty. I have performed a character at the theater, but I'm not sure what character it was. I have performed a character. I've had performed a character. I've performed a character. I have performed a character. I have performed a character. I finished performing my duty, so I will go home. I've finished performing my duty. Perform your duty. Perform your duty. Get down to the duty. Get down to our duty. Let's perform our duty. Let's perform our own duties. Let's perform our each duty. I performed my duty. I performed my task. I performed the duty. 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 I performed. I performed the duty. 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 Okay, I will finish speaking here. Thank you for watching. See you next time. See you.